Hey, church, believe it or not, it's December. That's right, the last month of 2020. Yeah, right? It's been an interesting year for sure, but at the end of the year, we get an opportunity every year to evaluate some of what we've experienced through this last year and also look forward to the next year as well with some maybe hopes and dreams about what's coming. And as we get ready to kind of enter this season, or as we enter this season of review, I was reminded this last week, actually the last couple of weeks, I've been reminded of again of our vision statement. It was interesting that in January of last year, we really kind of launched into this new vision statement. But at the annual celebration we had last year in December, was when we kind of put out kind of our push to, what is our strategy for discipleship? What is our strategy for engaging with this new vision statement? And so I thought it was interesting that it's been a year, and of course, this last year has not gone at all the way that we had planned, and we had some other different ministries that we were going to, experiment with a bit, if you will, and to go along with that vision statement, and it just didn't happen. And so we have had just a very different year, but as we've talked over and over again, God has been in it. He's been working. He's been functioning. And matter of fact, as I reflect again on our vision statement, as I begin to preach through that for Advent this year again, along with the fourfold gospel and Advent, right? I'm reminded, and I can see now that how God is actually blessing that vision statement, how He's using that, how it was such an appropriate time for that to come out. For us to cast a vision for really fully enjoying our relationship with Jesus Christ right before we entered into a year that is continuing even now, where all of the things that we typically maybe have depended on or trusted in have been stripped away from us in some sense, and we've been forced to reevaluate and forced to find something stable and to look for that stability in Jesus. And so, anyway, I just find that really awesome how God kind of works in the midst of time, even before we knew it was coming. He was preparing my heart individually, but our heart as a church, to recognize the importance of Jesus being the focal point of our life, that He is the one that we need to make sure that we're aware of and that we can see and that we're following, and that He's the one that we're trusting, not the jobs that we have in this world or relationships we have in this world or all the things that this world has to offer, but only seeing and trusting Jesus. So with that, I just felt like it was fitting to go ahead and remind you guys of some of the things that we had with our vision statement last year in December when we launched it. In our annual celebration last year, we passed out these vision cards, which you can still find kind of laying around the church in different spots if you look for them. We had them in the backs of the seats for a long time as well. Anyway, so this is the vision card that we created. It has our vision on the front, and then on the back, and this is the piece that I really want to focus on the back it has 3 questions. And so if you don't have one of these cards, maybe you're new to the church, or maybe you lost the one that you had from last year, then I encourage you to grab another one. We'll make sure we put out some more so that you can find that and be ready to have that. But because I want us to, again, as we end this new year, to evaluate our vision statement again in our own personal lives, to evaluate these 3 questions on what, this last year, how God has answered those questions, but also as we look into 2021, what is God calling us into? And here's the 3 questions that I ask, and they're related to our vision statement. The first question is, how are you, I should set this up. Enjoying our relationship with Jesus starts by asking Jesus these questions. And the first question, how are you calling me to rely more fully on you? This year, how has Jesus called you to more fully rely on Him? Reflect on that. Think about the things that have happened and the situations and the experiences that you've had where you've recognized the voice of God calling you to rely more fully on Him. And then the second question, how are you calling me to journey more fully with my church family? Again, reflect on this last year. How has God drawn you into a more intimate relationship with the church family? What relationships have you found that have grown over this time? And maybe seems weird to even ask that because church has been so weird and so many of our events have been canceled and we haven't been able to do them, or we've done them in different ways. But I think that God probably has still been working in that area. So how has he been working in that area? Who are the people in the church that you felt more connected to? How about the ministries? Maybe a ministry that you're involved in that you felt more connected to and felt like it's more valuable and felt more called to get involved in that ministry. I know a bunch of you have begun volunteering in different ministries this year that you've never volunteered in before. And so I know this has been happening in our church as well. And then finally, the last question: how are you calling me to engage more fully with my neighbor? And again, this is the missions part of it. How have you seen this last year God opened doors to be able to engage your neighbor with the love of Jesus? You know, maybe it was a missions of some sort. Maybe it was missions giving. Maybe it was prayers that you just felt like kept coming up to you, or names of mission fields, or even names of actual neighbors that you just felt like God just kept bringing them up and you kept praying for them. Or maybe it was actual conversations. Maybe with a family member or a friend or a coworker, or again, maybe an actual neighbor that you had the opportunity to go into relationship with this year that you've never had the opportunity before. And in that, had the opportunity to begin to share the love of Christ, either verbally or with your actions. So these are the three questions that we evaluate. I'm encouraging you to evaluate the year on, but also, again, three questions that after you've done evaluating the year, I want you to look to next year. And again, ask these three questions. What is God calling you to get involved in for next year? What is God calling you? How is God calling you to rely on him anew or in different ways as you look to 2021? How is he calling you to journey more fully with your church family as you look forward to 2021? What are new ministries maybe that he's asking you to get involved in? Or maybe new relationships, maybe mentoring relationships that you need to step into? And then how do you feel like he's calling you to more fully engage with your neighbor, with the lost, with the people who don't know Jesus as you look into 2021? Maybe there's a neighbor that was already, the relationship has begun, or a person that you know that doesn't know Jesus, that relationship was begun in 2020. And so maybe you see Jesus calling you to dive in deeper into that relationship in 2021. I don't know, but this is the things that we need to spend our time at the end of the year processing before the Lord. That we would spend time in prayer over this month, not just once, but multiple times, reflecting, helping him, asking him to help us to see what he's been doing in us throughout this year, but also asking him, what is he calling us to in 2021? I mentioned in my message on Sunday that we believe in a discipleship, or we're promoting a discipleship program in our church, in Trinity Alliance, that is unique and individualistic. It's not one that's going to be the same for everybody. It's one that is based on each of us individually seeking and asking Jesus these questions. And as he answers those questions, us following him in that direction. And so, church, if we're going to be successful in fulfilling our vision, and if we're going to be successful in enjoying our relationship with Jesus Christ, we believe this is the answer. This is the way to do that. This is at least one of those ways for us to do that. These questions that aren't, in Scripture, but they are a tool for us to be able to get our eyes on Jesus so we can recognize the relationship we already have. Recognize that we have a God who is already communicating to us, encouraging us, loving us, but also a God who is also calling us to rely on him, to journey with his church family, and to engage in our neighbors. Church, this is what we're about. And as at the end of the year, it's good for us to remember that, to renew that commitment to Jesus and commitment to our church and commitment to this vision of putting Jesus first and hoping that by his grace, we will be able to more fully enjoy our relationship with him this year. All right, church, have a blessed day. God bless you. Looking forward to seeing you on Sunday.